Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the latest Official Supporters Club player video chat. This week, we are fortunate enough to have our goalkeeper, Mark Birighitti, join us. Thank you so much for your time this evening, Mark. We are very grateful to you for allowing us to chat with you this evening.
No, please, guys. Thanks for having me on.
So as we've been doing with the previous player access we've had, we just got a few questions we'd like to ask you on behalf of our members and get to know you a bit better.
Yeah.
And start off with asking you, who would you say influenced your view of football or your desire to be a footballer when you were growing up?
Yeah, look, I'd have to say, for me, that's a pretty easy question. I'd have to say my mum and my dad. Coming from an Italian background, football was the number one topic of conversation in our household back in Perth. So it was drummed into me from a young age. My poor mum and my poor sister had to cop the brunt of it. All they could hear in the house was football talk. And yeah, it probably started from the age of 6 years of age. My dad was my first ever coach. He coached me at under sixes, right through to under 12s, under 13s. And yeah, he's been there from day one. I can't thank him enough. The sacrifices that he's made, have put me in the position where I am today.
Did you always want to be a goalkeeper, Mark, or was that something you transitioned to as you started to play the game?
Yeah, look, my dad was a goalkeeper back in the day when he was a lot younger. He never played at the highest level. He just played locally in the local leagues in Perth. And yeah, obviously he was my first he was my first coach. And obviously when he'd come to pick the team, under sixes, no one ever wanted to go in goals. So I was like, look, Dad, give me the gloves, I'll hop in goals. I'll make your job a lot easier. And he could see from about the age of 6, 7 that I had, I had potential. Obviously, with my father being a goalkeeper, he could see that I had the attributes to be a keeper. So, I kept the gloves, and yeah, probably started taking it seriously from the age of maybe 13, 14. I was getting good coaching outside of football. But yeah, started from a really young age.
As you say, I think most people, they often say the goalkeeper is the person who doesn't step back quickly enough in the team when they ask for a volunteer. But yeah, it's something that every team needs, a good goalkeeper. A good goalkeeper is worth their weight in gold.
I have to be completely honest as well. When I was younger, I was quite short and I was quite stocky and quite chubby. And, when we used to do running around the field and that, I'd always come last. So that was another reason why I took the gloves, because you don't have to run as much as the field. Quite clever in a way.
But interestingly, when you look at the modern game, Mark, sorry, Mark, I talked over you there.
No, you're right.
So when you look at the modern game now, most goalkeepers seem to be extremely fit, and certainly athletic. That's a given for the role these days, I'd suggest. When did you decide that you wanted to become a professional footballer? Was there a specific moment that you can recall, or something, a pivotal moment?
Yeah, I'd say probably from the age of 13, 14, that's all I wanted to do. I hated going. I was a typical boy. I hated going to school. I was always getting up to mischief. All I wanted to do was play football with my mates, whether it was at training, whether it was outside, outside the house, kicking the ball around with my mates. I always wanted to be a professional footballer. And yeah, that was, like I said, I was lucky that I had my parents that pushed me as well. They sacrificed a lot, leaving work early to pick me up, to take me to training, sometimes missing work to take me to games on the weekend. And yeah, it was from day to day. I always knew I was always going to be a professional footballer. I didn't want to do anything else.
So what age were you when you went to the AIS then, Mark? And what was your experience about your time there, or your experience of it?
I was 16 when I left Perth. I went to the AIS for a 1-week trial. There was me and another goalkeeper that went on trial. And a former Mariners goalkeeper was already at the AIS in Andrew Redmayne. You know, he already had a scholarship there, and they were looking at bringing in someone else. So yeah, I left Perth at 16. You know, that was it was a big moment for me and my family. Obviously, you know, I'm very close with my family back in Perth. So to move away from home for the first time, it was definitely quite challenging. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. You know, I signed a 2-year scholarship at the Institute of Sport. And it was fantastic. It was an amazing experience. You know, to get treated the way we did, you know, it's a stepping stone to what life is like as a professional footballer. You know, obviously training every day, schooling. You know, you're getting treated like a proper athlete, and yeah, it was an amazing experience. You know, I worked with Andrew Redmayne when I was there. Obviously, he was injured at the time. So at the time, we were playing in the Victorian Premier League in the VPL. So every second week, we were in Melbourne playing games. And, you know, for me, I think, you know, the VPL is one of the toughest, you know, leagues in the NPL in Australia. And we absolutely creamed the league. We absolutely smashed it with the team that we had. You know, we're top of the table. And then slowly, all the players started signing for A-League clubs, and after 6 months, I signed my first professional deal with Adelaide United.
How did you feel about the closure of the AIS, Mark? Do you feel that the club's academies are now taking over that role?
Disappointing, mate. Disappointing. The sooner they get that place up and running again, the better it's going to be for football in this country. Just brutally.
Yeah, there's still some huge challenges around the development of players, I think. And as I say, whilst maybe academies have taken some of that, load, it was always a sad day when we heard that the AIS closed, I believe, and that money was diverted elsewhere into the game.
Yeah, mate. So disappointing. When I heard, I was actually shocked, because, you know, you look at the players that have come through that program, and I just feel like at the moment we're not producing those types of players anymore.
No, I agree with you, I think.
Yeah, disappointing. And like I said, the sooner they get that program running again, the better it's going to be for, you know, the young, talented players, and the better it's going to be better for their future.
Indeed. You've personally been fortunate enough to play some of your football career overseas in Europe. Are you able to tell us about what that experience was like for you personally?
Yeah, look, obviously, I was at Newcastle at the time, and it was the 3rd year of my contract at the club, and I had a pretty tough start to the season in that 3rd season, and I ended up getting dropped, and the club was in a really bad way with ownership. And I wanted a challenge. So I was lucky enough to find a club in the 2nd division in Italy. So I went on loan there for 6 months to a 2nd division club in the Serie B. And it was an amazing experience. You know, I saw things there that I thought I'd never, ever see in my footballing career. I was at a small club just outside of Milan. And yeah, it was a real eye-opener. It was a challenge. You know, it's over there, they live and breathe football. They live and breathe football. You know, it's in their blood. And I was at a club where, you know, we were fighting a relegation battle. And man, I just see things that, like I said, I'd never thought I'd see in my footballing career. You know, you come to training some mornings after a loss, and, you know, our fans would be at the training ground, and, you know, they'd walk in the dressing rooms with guns, and, there was crosses on the field. They wanted to kill us because, mate, it was unbelievable, mate. Things that you wouldn't even imagine. So then after the 6 months, I had one more year left on my contract at Newcastle. So I went and finished that season off at Newcastle. I had a really good season. And yeah, I had to move to the UK. Went to Swansea. I signed a 2-year deal there, which probably looking back at it now was probably not the best move in terms of my footballing career, because I was never going to play. And at the time I was 24, and, the money that they were throwing at me at that age, for me, it was a no-brainer. Money's not everything, but for me, it was, I had three other clubs that wanted me in Europe, but the money wasn't the same. And, to be earning that money as a 24-year-old, I don't think I'll earn that money ever again in my footballing career, to be honest with you. And it was an amazing experience to work with some of the players and, World Cup winners and, players who have played in the Champions League, and just to be involved in that environment. It was amazing to see the way you get treated, to see how the club is run in a professional environment. It was, it was a real eye opener. But then there come a time where, I had to go and play. And I had the opportunity to go and experience, a different league in Holland. And as well, it was an amazing experience in Holland. It's tough, going overseas. It's not easy, especially as a foreigner. It's very, very, very tough. The challenges that you face is very difficult. Obviously over there, we're lucky here in Australia, we don't have relegation. The club I was at in Holland as well was fighting relegation. So the club I was at was, they were NAC Breda, and they had an affiliation with Manchester City. So all their younger players at Man City would come to this club in Holland to get experience. So we had a very young team, and it was a similar situation there. The first couple of months, the fans absolutely loved me. And then obviously when the team's not doing well, I had a few poor performances. Your own fans whistling at you, booing you. And for me, I've never experienced that in my life. So us the younger players here in Australia don't realise how good they have it. But, if I have to pass on any advice to any young footballer growing up here, you have to go and experience European football, because it's so different, and, it shapes you as a person. And, it definitely, from my experience there, made me a stronger person.
I would imagine, Mark, and not being a professional sportsman myself, but I would imagine a lot of the goalkeeper probably magnifies an awful lot of those issues that you've just touched upon, because there can only be one goalkeeper in the team, whereas you've got 10 outfield players. So therefore, your opportunities are already limited beyond that. And then, as you say, as a goalkeeper, you make a mistake, everybody remembers it. You do something brilliant, that's applauded, and then perhaps more quickly forgotten.
Yeah, exactly right. You're spot on. And like I mentioned before, it's very difficult for foreign players to go to countries like Holland, because I know for a fact that they're thinking of the game is, why are we spending this money on a foreign player when we can go in our own backyard and find someone just as good? That's their mentality. So like I said, it was challenging, but yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Well, I thought you fire somewhat and make you the person you be. I think a lot of players have gone through good and bad experiences. Sometimes if your face fits, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So that's the professional footballer's life, I guess, unfortunately, in some respects. What are your personal expectations and hopes for the remainder of the season, Mark?
Yeah, look, obviously we have, there's no shying away that we have 3 massive games coming up. my objective and the team's objective is, we have 3 games and we want to win all 3 games. We want to finish in the top 4. We want to get that 4th position. We want to have a home final, because us players who experienced last season want to have that experience again. When we played Macarthur at home last year, to see a crowd of 14,000 there and to play in our home fans and to give something special to them, that's what we want to do. So, look, we'll be taking it 1 game at a time. We want to take maximum points out of all 3 games, and we want to, cement that 4th spot. So that's the goal.
I think one of my abiding memories from that elimination or preliminary final last season, Mark, was how crestfallen you looked when we failed to beat Macarthur that night, when really, a lot of things were working toward, perhaps looking like they were going in our favour. I can just disconsolate you looked on the field. Whistle went, something can go all of the way this time. Certainly, building on the experience of last season. Have you got any game day superstitions at all?
No, not really. I always have this. I wouldn't say superstitions. I have the same routine every day, every game day. Sorry, and that's just. It's pretty cruisy, actually. I wake up in the morning, go down to Terrigal with the family, go for a walk, take the kids for a run at the Haven, go for breakfast, come home, put the kids to sleep. I have a sleep myself, wake up, lunch, maybe another little sleep in the afternoon. And then, get ready and head to the game. But there's no real serious superstitions that I have. No, it's just a pretty relaxed day for me, and, chilling out with the family and spending time with the kids and that. But, no real superstitions.
Simo touched, so we asked Simo the same question a couple of weeks ago, and it was interesting. His response was very interesting. He said that he was at some kind of coaching seminar or something along those lines, and he said that the guy that was delivering the sort of seminar said that superstitions are excuses for weakness. I thought that was quite an interesting way of looking at it.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, quite interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. So thinking about your career, Mark, who's the player you've most enjoyed playing with and the player you've least enjoyed playing against?
Playing with, is that in Australia or overseas as well?
Whichever, you can do both if you like.
Oh, look, playing with, I'd probably have to say probably Fernando Llorente. I played with him at Swansea. Phenomenal person, phenomenal player, amazing character on and off the field. He's done everything in football. He's won Champions Leagues, he's won World Cups, and he's like a brother to me. He looked after me when I first moved to the UK. We lived next door to each other. He didn't speak very good English. He spoke fluent Italian. I speak fluent Italian. So we got on like a house on fire. And it was just amazing to have someone like him and just feeding off what he's done in his footballing career and giving me advice and giving me tips on, how to improve, what I need to do. And, he's like I said, mate, he's like family to me now. I still speak to him once, twice a week, very close with him and his family. But just all around a top guy. Here in Australia, one player that I love to play with, it's a tricky one. I love playing with Matty Simon. I just love his energy. I love what he brings to the game. I love how he is. I love his character. He's passionate. I think we have very similar attributes. We'll do whatever it takes to win. We'll put our body on the line. Again, great guy, champion bloke off the field, family man. So we're very similar in those kind of ways. And one player that I hated playing against was Matty Simon as well.
I had a feeling you might say that, Mark.
Yeah, it was an absolute handful when you're the goal. I remember, I'm not too sure what season it was, but I was at Newcastle and we were playing in Newcastle, and I remember I got a ball back to me and I was wasting time. We were winning 1-0 at the time. And I remember I took the ball to the corner of the 18-yard box on the byline, and I seen Simo charging at me, and I waited for like the last second, and he's just lunged in with his boot and just cleaned me up completely. But that's Simo. That's what you're going to get with him. Whether the 15th minute, the 1st minute, the 90th minute, he's always going to give it his all to that 93rd, 94th minute. And just glad I'm in the same team as him now.
I have to say, on Saturday night, a little part of me was hoping that he'd be named on the bench for the derby, but unfortunately, it wasn't.
For me, he wasn't in the
We'll get a look before the final game.
For me, he was the man of the match. Love it.
The 12th man.
I love it.
Yeah. How pleased were you to hear that JVS was returning to the club as goalkeeping coach this season? And how would you describe your relationship with Jess?
Yeah, look, obviously I've worked Jess for a number of years, with my time in Newcastle. Fantastic guy, fantastic goalkeeper coach. Obviously, club parted ways with him, not last season, the season before. And Zoyce came in, Peter Zoyce, who was, for me, amazing. So dedicated to his job, so thorough. He got the best out of me. Obviously, for family reasons, he had a good opportunity to go back to Melbourne Victory, where he's from, to be closer to his family. And yeah, obviously JVS is back now at the club, and it's good to be back working with him again. He got the best out of me when I was at Newcastle, and Jess has played the game. He's played at a high level. He's a good guy. I really enjoy working with him, and I think he's improved me a lot this year, and there's still a lot of improving to go. I still have a lot of areas in my game that I need to work on. But yeah, it's good to have someone with Jess's pedigree back at the club again.
You touched on there, and you actually preempted my next question, Mark, which was, what areas of your game would you like to improve on most, do you think?
Oh, look, obviously, I'm 31 of age now, and, you never stop learning. I want to improve in all areas of my game. I think, if I can add 10% in different areas of my game, I think I will be a much better goalkeeper. It's hard to pinpoint, one area that I need to work on. I just think my all-round game can improve, 10%, distribution, crossing, shot stopping, 1v1s, never stop learning, and I'm always there. I'm always wanting to improve. I'm always working hard in training. I'm always the first one at training and always the last one to leave.
Well, that said, I think you're rightly getting a lot of plaudits from the pundits in terms of your performances, not just this season, Mark, but certainly the last few seasons. So hopefully that pays off potentially in the future with maybe a national team call. I think we'd all like to see that, provided it's not during the A-League season. We don't lose you. That would be heartbreaking. But I think you're doing all you can to put yourself in that window, and fingers crossed you get just reward for that in due course.
Yeah, let's hope so. Obviously, I'll be completely honest with you guys. I was disappointed that I missed out on the last couple of camps, but look, it is what it is. For whatever reason, I haven't been selected. I always want to, I've been lucky enough to represent my country, and it's an amazing experience. And, it's definitely something that, I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of the national team. We spoke with John Crawley after the Perth game. We played in Perth a couple of weeks ago. It was a good conversation that I had with him. I know where I'm at. He knows where I'm at. So, look, all I have to do is keep working hard, keep performing. And if I do that, I think, a call up to the national team is just around the corner.
We all hope that's the case, Mark. What's your fondest memory at Central Coast Stadium so far?
I'd have to say, it's a tough question. Last season we had a lot of good memories at that stadium. I remember early on in the season we played Western United at home, and I think you guys will be able to tell me, I think we were 2-0 down and we came back and won the game 3-2. Alou scored a double. That was from that point I knew we were gonna make the finals. Just something about that game. I remember walking away from the game thinking to myself, we're the real deal this season. We're going to be in the top 6, and come finals time, we're going to upset a few teams. And I think that's one that sticks out, in my mind. Obviously, the elimination final as well against MacArthur. To see 14,000 people there, was amazing. To see so many fans, and I remember the build up to that game. 2-3 days before the game, in Terrigal, supporters, members, fans with their Mariners gear on, it was just so good to see. And, to see that number come out was amazing. Obviously, the club, I wasn't involved at the club. The club suffered, quite a bit in recent years. So to see us have a successful season that we had last year, it was good to see for the community, and put a smile back on their face. That's a real joy that I enjoy seeing. I go down to Terrigal every morning with my son, and so mmany people come up to me and to give back to the community, and if it's a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes, just a hello, how are you, and it just puts a real smile on their face, and that's what I enjoy the most.
I think it goes without saying, Mark, that when the team's travelling well, the region feels good about itself, and when the team hasn't been travelling so well, it's it does reflect on the general mood around the coast. So it's important that you guys are successful, from a personal and a community perspective. So moving on to sort of more broad subjects, what's your on VA in the A League?
What was that? You just cut it.
But plenty of opportunities where you could say that perhaps wasn't the case. Sorry, Mark. What's your view on VAR and its use within the league? Notwithstanding that we perhaps benefited from VAR on Saturday night, there's been plenty of other occasions where we haven't necessarily benefited.
I'm a big fan of VAR, but I think they need to make some adjustments. They need to, I think it needs a big overhaul on the way they use the VAR. That's with referees and whoever's in the VAR booth. We've been on the wrong end of the VAR and we've been on the right end of the VAR, but there's been some decisions last year, some decisions this year that I just think to myself, wow, like, what is the VAR? That's what the VAR is there for. And they're still getting these decisions wrong. It can't happen. and then you hear, referees overruling the VAR because they've seen something different. Like, it's just, I don't know. It needs a big, it needs to be more clear. It needs to be more clear. But not only the VAR,
sorry,
even, even the stuff that goes on with the match review panel, Lewis Miller gets a red card against the Wanderers a couple of weeks ago, which wasn't a red card, gets 2 games. And then Pena elbows one of our players, not even in a challenge, just a dog act for me, and gets 2 games. For me, I think he should be out for 5-6 weeks. So just the whole area needs a massive overhaul, and we need some clarification on that, because for me it's just not good enough.
Yeah, I think as fans we feel that aspect of the game, both the officiating and the use of VAR, certainly is challenging. The consistency isn't there, and it's definitely turning fans off the game, which is really the reverse of what it should be doing. It should be there to make sure that the right decisions do prevail.
Couldn't agree more with you.
As I say, notwithstanding that we did seem to get the rub of the green on Saturday, there have been too many other occasions, not just in our game, but in other games where VAR hasn't either been deployed correctly, or it hasn't been, the utilisation of it's not been as good as it should have been.
Yeah.
So a slightly more light-hearted question for you now, Mark, if I might. If you were not a professional footballer, what do you think you might be doing to earn a crust? And which teammate would you like to most have working with you?
Look, to be completely honest with you guys, I'm actually getting a bit of work done to my house at the moment. I've had painters here, I've had brickies here, I've had the lot here, and I actually enjoy seeing what they do and giving them a helping hand when they need me, when I'm not at football, obviously. So I could see myself in some kind of trade. I don't know what trade exactly, but I do enjoy it. And if I had to pick someone to come and help me, it'd be young Jacob Farrell.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Young Jacob.
Interesting. Can I ask why?
Yeah, it's a few boys living in apartments, rowdy parties, causing chaos in their apartments, obviously holes in the wall. And yeah, I think Jacob Farrell's dad is a gyp rocker or a plasterer. And apparently he plastered one of the boys' apartments the other day, and he did a fantastic job. So yeah, so whenever I need plastering, gyp rocking, Jacob Farrell's the man.
We'll have to put him on our list of possible tradespeople then. Which team do you follow over? Sorry, Mark.
Or Matty Simon as well.
Yeah, no, I think he did work in the trades for a little while himself, didn't he? So he'd have some experience to call upon.
Yeah. Jacob Farrell and Matty Simon, they're my two who'd I'd employ.
Which team do you follow overseas, and what made you choose them?
Juventus supporter, massive fan. I had my first Juventus shirt when I was 6 years of age. And the reason why I followed them is, one of my idols, Gianluigi Buffon, played for them for several years. He's someone that I've idolised from a young age. Waking up early hours of the morning, watching them with my dad, and yeah, phenomenal goalkeeper, phenomenal person. I was lucky enough I got when we had the All-Stars game in Sydney a couple of years ago, and just a champion guy, and yeah, Juventus till I die.
Have you seen them play live, Mark?
I have, yeah. Obviously, when we had the All-Stars game a couple of years ago, I was lucky enough to be involved in that game. And during my time in Italy, I went and watched them quite a bit, yeah.
Have you ever had any unusual requests from fans?
I have.
Any you're able to share with us?
Yeah, we're a family, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I've had a couple of unusual ones, but one that sticks out, well, still sticks out in my mind is a lady asked me to sign her breast.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the tribulations of being a professional footballer. I don't know how you deal with it, Mark.
Yeah, exactly.
So everything. Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. I apologise,
yeah.
Mark. I keep stepping across you. I do apologise. Everything going to plan. Where and what would you like to be doing 5 years from now, do you think?
5 years from now, well, I'll be 36. I'll be in my prime as a goalkeeper. I'd still be flying. I'll still be playing. And I'll be on the coast. I'll still be at the Mariners. My family loves it here. We're settled here. My kids love it here. Yeah, pretty easy question, actually.
I think we'd all be very happy as fans, Mark, if you were our next 10-year player. And we've got one in John Hutchinson. We're certainly likely to follow in his tracks. That'd be an awesome outcome.
Yeah. I've been around to many A-League clubs, and for me to call the Central Coast home, it's it's fantastic. My family, I lived in Adelaide, I've lived in Newcastle, I've lived in Melbourne, and Central Coast for me now is home.
I think your genuine love for the region certainly comes across in just about every interview you do, Mark. And I think, as you rightly say, there aren't many better places in the world to live. And the fact that you can, perform in the A-League as a top flight goalkeeper, I guess that's a perfect marriage, really.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, it's always, obviously having a young family, and obviously my wife's from the UK. So, look, she had her challenges when she first moved out to Australia, obviously being so far away from home. We've met many friends here, we're close to so many people, and just to see the way the club is and how family orientated the club is, we wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So yeah, like I said, we're happy here. We bought a house here. Yeah, I don't think we'll be going anywhere anytime soon.
Next time I see Sean, I'll propose it gives you a 10-year contract, Mark.
Yeah, get in his ear.
Amongst the current senior academy goalkeeping ranks and the senior and academy goalkeeping ranks, who do you believe has the potential to break through to senior football, and what role are you personally taking to help develop the next generation of goalkeepers for the Mariners?
Yeah, look, obviously we have a great crop of young talented goalkeepers at the club. Obviously, Yaron Souza, he came early on in the season. He played the game against Macarthur and unfortunately got injured. But he's a fantastic person, fantastic goalkeeper. He works hard, he's driven, he's focused. I can see a big future in him. Young Lawrence Caruso as well. He's only 19 years of age, I think. He's got a massive, massive, massive future. To see some of the things he does at his age, phenomenal. He's brave. He's got all the attributes to be a top goalkeeper. There's a young boy in the academy. I think he's 13 years of age. Extraordinary. I've seen him work. I've seen him train, and the club's in good stead. We've got a lot of good young goalkeepers coming through, which is important. And it's important that we give them the right pathway to achieve the end goal, and that's to be in the first team. And look, for me, as the senior goalkeeper at the club, it's to be there. It's to be there by their side. Lead them along the way. We've got a good union at the club, and just guide them, give them advice. That's what I'm there for. You know, I was in their position a long time ago. And, you know, to see them, how they've come along since I've been at the club, you know, it's a good feeling to have. And, you know, it's good to see that they're making progress, and, you know, with the right training and the right people around them, you know, they have all the attributes to be top goalkeepers.
I think that goes back to the subject of academies and their place in the game. Certainly, you know, when you have a consistent approach across the academy grades from the very younger age teams through to the senior team, that can, you know, help guide a young player's career. And I think, you know, with the goalkeepers, you know, they know that their opportunities are less perhaps broad than other types of players. So it's very important to pick the right sorts of characters as much as the right sorts of people with the ability levels.
Exactly right. And look, you know, what we've done recent years with all the young kids that we've brought through, you know, this is a perfect club for them. You know, Monty doesn't shy away of giving the young kids a go, and, you know, you can see the proof's in the pudding. You know, look how many young kids we've got in our team this year, and look at the job that they're doing. So, you know, these players know that they work hard, they do the right things, and, you know, they're going to get an opportunity because we have a coach at the club that's willing to give, you know, these young talented players an opportunity.
Sort of speaking to the subject of young players, Mark, is there any young players in the team in the last 2 seasons that have really stood out to you as being something special, and you think they've got a big future in the game? I mean, it's, you know, perhaps there's a number of them, but is there anyone that specifically has stood out to you, do you think?
Yeah, look, for me, you know, it's hard to pick one player. You know, I've been really, really impressed with young Jacob Farrell. You know, to be honest, I had my doubts on him at the start of the season. I'm not going to lie, but he's proved me wrong. For me, he's been one of our best players, standout players, and if not, one of the best fullbacks in the competition this year. He's one. Young Nizzy's another one. You know, his work rate, phenomenal. What he does on the field, you know, just unbelievable. The amount of ground he covers, he's like a little pit bull in there. You know, I think if he can, you know, start adding assists and goals to his name, he'll be a top footballer. Lewis Miller as well is another one at right back. Strong, energetic, gets up and down, can go forward, can defend. You know, I've been really impressed with him. Garang's another one. For me, I think he's better than Alou. I think all round, you know, he works hard. He can hold the ball up. He's a good dribbler. He's a good fit. I think Alou was good, but I think Alou was more of a out-and-out striker, could finish. But Garang's just got something that I haven't seen. You know, he's just got something special. You know, 1v1s, can dribble. He's not scared. Can hit a ball. And I think Garang has a big future ahead of him. But it's like I said, I keep going on and on and on and on. The list is just, you know, I've been really impressed with all our young players.
It's certainly an embarrassment of riches with the talent that seems to be coming through the academy sort of process. And as you say, Garang probably, you know, considering that he's not come through any kind of academy to my knowledge. I mean, he's really just come in a bit like Alou, very raw, coming in from the outside. It's just pure ability that's kind of, you know, getting those kids to sort of kick on into the, you know, the senior levels of football. So yeah, long may that continue, and we look forward to the next, you know, that being a continual conveyor belt for years to come. One final question, general question. How would you compare the coaching style of Stadge with the coaching style of Monty? Are there any significant differences that you can point to?
Yeah, look, obviously, two different coaches. Stadge was a great coach. I really enjoyed working with him. We had, it was a different style we had last year. We knew that if we'd score one last year, that we were going to hold teams out. We were very, very, very good defensively. You know, there were many games that I recall from last year where we'd go 1-0 up after 15, 20 minutes, and we wouldn't look for the second or the third because we knew how good we were defensively. So, on the other hand, with Monty, we've scored more goals. We know that if we cop 1 or 2, that we're going to score 3 or 4. We're playing a lot more attacking brand of football, I think, with Monty. I think we're keeping the ball a lot better this year. You know, we're building out from the back. We're playing out from the back. We're not scared to take risks. And yeah, it's worked. You know, we're dominating teams. We're having a lot more possession than other teams. We're creating more chances than other teams. So yeah, like I said, 2 great coaches, 2 different philosophies.
As you say, yeah, interesting that those 2, you know, the 2 different approaches to the game, both of which arguably were successful. But it's really exciting to see that we're fast approaching the 50-goal record for goals scored that the club previously, you know, currently has. So fingers crossed we might be able to eclipse that this year, which would be a real achievement in and of itself. Well, that's really the sort of all the general questions. Mark, we've got a few quick fire rounds just to hopefully end on a few laughs and chuckles. Who would you say has been the biggest joker in the team?
Calm dog. Calm dog.
I don't think there's any surprises there.
And the joker and great guy, funny guy. Yeah, comedian.
Look, his press conferences are gold every single week, aren't they? It's just, and the league needs more characters like that, Mark. I mean, you know, you can't be too vanilla all the time. You need people that are going to make people smile and want to watch games. Diamante's another one. Unfortunately, I haven't seen much of him this year, but no, I think we can just imagine what he's like in the change room, given what we see on the pitch and post game.
Dog takes the reins.
Who would you say is the best or worst, or best and worst teammate? Roommate, not teammate. Sorry.
Best roommate. That it's weird because when I joined the club, I've had the same roommate the entire away, like every away trip, so I don't change. And my roommate's Marco Urena. Just a chilled out sort of a character. We get along really well. Family man. You know, it's a pretty boring room. We go to bed pretty early. We do talk a lot of shit in the room, but yeah, he'd probably have to be the best roommate that I've had. Worst roommate, I don't have a worst roommate because I've always roomed with Marco. So,
well, what would the other player? What do you reckon the team would say would be the worst roommate?
Oof. Probably have to say Lewis Miller. Yeah. Oh, actually,
again, no.
Insane. It was actually Gianotta, Michael Gianotta last year. Every away trip, he'd go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. He'd have like lollipops at 2 o'clock in the morning. He'd have his iPad on like full blast. No one could sleep. Just didn't care who he was rooming with. Had no respect for the other person. Yeah. But Lewis Miller,
would you say in the team drives? Sorry.
See the way he is in the dressing room and that, and I think he could be a bit messy and clothes everywhere and just typical young kid. But we've all been there. We've all been in that position, being young.
Absolutely. A bit longer for me than you, though, Mark. Who would you say drives the best and the worst cars?
Best car would have to be Nikolai. He just bought a Tesla. Yeah, so it's a pretty cool car. Worst car would have to be Cum Dog, actually. He had so got club, and the club didn't look after him with the car. So don't know where he managed to find this contact from. Anyway, he gave him a 1959 combi. The number plates, swag. What was the number plate? Swagging or something like that. Anyway, it was an absolute disaster. Like, I remember, because he lives in Terrigal, we always drive, like, he comes past my house every morning, and I pull up the lights and I can hear the combi coming from down the road, and you could just see him trying to steer this car, no power steering, in the rain. There was no wipers. He had the front window up, trying to look out, and he's dodging cars, and yeah, terrible. I think he doesn't drive it anymore.
That's hilarious. Oh, wow. What about the player with the best and worst fashion sense?
The best would probably have to be Nikolai Muller. He's got his all designer stuff. Obviously, he's played overseas. He's experienced what it's like in Europe. You know, it's like the Milan catwalk when you come to training. You know, he's in all these expensive trainers, expensive jeans, and all designer label stuff. Yeah, he spends quite a bit of money on his clothes. Worst dress would have to be Lewis Miller again. Oh, no, actually, Rolsey. Yeah. By a country mile. He's poor.
Is it a close race between Miller and Rolsey?
Nah, Rolsey's more of like Doc Martens with black and white pinstripe trousers, like flannelette shirts, and a VB hat.
He sounds more like a rock and roll musician than a footballer.
Yeah. But he's a good kid. I like Rolsey.
All right, last one. Top guy. Yeah, I think we're very, very fond of Kyle through the sizzles. And last question for you, Mark, before we let you go. Is there someone that's always late for training and routinely cops the most team fines?
Yeah, Lewis Miller. He's paid about $600 in fines.
He just wants a good end of season away trip, doesn't he? That's why.
Yeah, exactly. We have to be in at training at 9:30. He's always there at like 9:31, and Rolsey's at the door with his note so he gets it down. But then the worst thing is you have to pay by a certain date, and if you don't pay by a certain date, it doubles. So yeah.
So Rolsey's the note taker, is he?
Yeah, Rolsey's the fine master.
Oh, well, that's all the questions I have for you, Mark. That's been a really, really enjoyable track with it. I think the mark of that's gone way over time because it's been such an enjoyable evening talking to you. Colin, are there any more questions very quickly from the members that have been viewing before we let Mark get back to his lovely family?
Yeah, we got one that I think you might have missed off your list, which I think's pretty important because I know I've heard this question in the stands quite a lot. Keeper jerseys, how are the colours chosen for each match day? And is it better to wear a colour that blends in with the background, say something like a green, or a colour that stands out like pink?
Yeah, so with the keeper jerseys, it's so at the start of the season when they go through all the kit, Sean asks me, you know, what colour do you want to go with this year? I'll give him my colour preferences. And then those, so we've got green, we've got orange, we've got pink. Then they get sent to the FA, and then they decide on what we wear for the games. because they don't want it clashing with the referees and the other team and that. So the FA actually choose what colour strips we wear on game day. My preference is the orange. I love the orange strip. We haven't really worn it that much this year. You know, I do like the orange, but yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that actually. There's been a myth saying that, you know, goalkeepers should always wear a bright colour in goals, because when a striker's charging down at you and he looks up and he sees a bright colour in goal, he'll always shoot at the bright colour. So I don't know how true that is, but yeah, just one for you guys to think about.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I must admit, I've always wondered about that.
I saw at least 2 posts after the game when you wore the orange, asking where people could buy it. So, so there's 2 others that have come in through the chat. A quick one: favourite Scottish team?
Celtic.
Okay, and then the last one is, and Mark W, please don't shoot me if I pronounce this wrong, but he's got Ducati or Lambretta.
Probably a Lambretta.
All right.
Well, he's got both, so I'm sure he'll be happy with that answer.
We've actually got a Lambretta up in our restaurant in Perth. Yeah, hanging off the wall.
All right.
Yeah. But I like fast bike. But my preference, Lambretta.
And
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time this evening, Mark. As I say, we've run way over because it's been such an engaging chat. So we're really, really grateful to you for your time tonight. We wish you all the best, not just for tomorrow night, but for the remainder of the season and the remainder of your career. It's been a real pleasure talking to you this evening.
Nah, cheers, guys. I appreciate it anytime.
thanks, Mark.
Look forward to seeing you at Central Coast Stadium tomorrow, Mark. Oh, Saturday, sorry.
Saturday. I was going to say, it's not game day tomorrow.
No, my bad.
See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks again.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. If anybody else wants to hang on for a chat, that's fine. I'll just stop recording at this point.